Just outside the layout room here, we see a different scale. We're looking at O scale here, ON30, and the workbench. And so you tell me a little bit about how you suddenly decided, or what made you look at a different scale.
I really like the chunkiness of it. It's bigger. It has a bit of a chunky feel to it.
Yeah.
It's very whimsical. It's ON30 is very freelanced. It's very much do what you want to do. Mm-hmm. The community is very much about the enjoyment of the hobby and having fun, and at the same time doing excellent craftsmanship. So that's really what I was striving for, and that's really what I'm trying to accomplish in this particular scale when it comes to this layout.
It brings out an artistic element, I guess, in many ways, and you don't have to stick to a prototype per se. You can just do what you like and be creative.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you still want to a certain degree, at least for me, I still want to maintain a sort of prototypical feel, yeah. or you know, reasonability in what I'm doing, but whatever I model is basically it's my choice of what I'm doing, because it's not really set in any realistic place.
Yeah.
The locomotives, you know, you want to make them feasible, but a lot of guys, they just want to have fun, and that's what they wind up doing. And
so that looks like a porter there or something along those lines. Originally it was...
Yeah, that's, well, ironically for this particular locomotive, what it started out life as was a British double O scale IVAT.
Oh, okay. Can you just put it right on its side there so we can have a look at it? There,
yeah,
and the light on it.
So the only thing that remained of that is obviously the mechanism, the boiler.
Yeah.
Everything else is being either added or created. I scratch built all of this part. It's going to be fired by wood. So what I'm actually doing right now is we have our sound, we have our DCC, we have all the lighting done. I'm just trying to figure out the best way to hide this, keep my wires safe, and get my little wood in there. Obviously, yeah. I'm using real wood, just like little twigs, and that's the project we're working on now.
Right.
And we're going to get our firemen, or we're going to get our seats in there, we're going to get all of our details. Eventually I'll put my roof on, we'll get my rope to the bell, we'll finish it off.
Yeah.
One of the things that a couple Canadian modelers do, you know, we look at Tommy Hood and some folks like that, is for their tenders, in order to get more room in it, they build the tender up on all four sides. You know, and they make it taller, and it gives that just a bit extra space that you need. You know, with almost like a little flare out to the side,
yep.
And that's a possibility.
Well, one of the things that they used to do is they used to have sort of like, you know, guardrails.
Yep.
That they would pile stuff up. So that's what I'm going to do here to give me more height.
Yeah.
Right. So that's exactly what's going to happen here. I just got to build it out of a little brass or whatever and build up some guardrails.
Yep.
So that's going to give me more height to put more wood, and yeah.
What kind of a speaker did you put in there? That's a nice size.
I'm not sure. I think it's a lock sound.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly.
I know now too, when you're really strapped for space, that a lot of people are starting to go to those small speakers that you find in cell phones.
Oh yeah.
There was a fellow GLX, you know, Gilbert Lacroix. What he managed to do is, these things are the size of almost a little chip, and he built a resin box for them that they just sit in, and you seal it with some glue, and it's probably like the size of a sugar cube.
Wow.
And it produces the same sort of quality sound that you get in a larger speaker.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever heard of those before.
Nope.
That's something to experiment with. I'm sure looking forward to trying them out and see, because you know, obviously sometimes it's nicer even to be able to get two speakers in, and when you're dealing with small spaces.
Well, it is, and this locomotive is going to be DCC, obviously. Yeah. But one of my next locomotives that I'm working on, I want to make it dead rail, so it's going to be battery powered.
Oh, okay.
Right, because like I said, I want to be able to operate this set of modules outside.
Yep.
And I'm not even going to worry about electricity. I'm just going to have one that's going to be battery operated.
Nice.
Yep.
I was admiring your rolling stock there. It looks like a bit of Ron Newby style coloring.
Yeah. Ron got me hooked on to these ink paint markers.
Yeah.
I like them. They're good. And then what I do is I come back after with a little bit of acrylic, and I do a little bit of the weathering that way.
Yeah.
It also gives me a little bit of texture.
Mm-hmm.
But for my base, yeah, I really like how the wood absorbed it, but it didn't run. It didn't do any crazy stuff. It's very quick.
Yeah.
Not that I'm trying to be quick.
Come on now. This has become your little mantra, I think, in the last little while.
Yeah, it's sort of like I need a sign that just says to slow down and just relax. But yeah, it's yeah. No, the detail parts on this were nice.
That's a kit, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a little laser kit. Where is it here? I think this is the actual one of the kits. So yeah, this is actually a box car.
Is that Dave Mason that makes those?
I do believe it is. So you can see I've already started looking at the box car. So I already started doing some pre-staining. Mm-hmm. This one's going to obviously be green.
Yep.
At least I hope it's green. Otherwise I got some issues. But yeah, it took me, I don't know, taking my time, maybe just a couple of hours to get it to the stage where it's, to get this one to the stage where it's at now.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that was just making sure everything was square, and I got my handrails on. The roof is already stained. I just haven't put it on. I'm going to get it weighted, make sure all my trucks work and everything of that nature works before I finally do a final assembly, and this is what it will come out at. These two are actually identical. This is number 2. This will probably be number 3.
You can flip it over and have a look at the underside of the.
Yep.
It looks like there's some rod detail there.
Oh yeah, there's nice little rod detail.
Yeah.
I've got some of the brake work on order, so I'm going to be installing that. Mm-hmm. Just need to go in and sort of darken out where I haven't got it darkened out.
Yeah.
And yeah, no, they're really nice little kits.
So ON30 now is getting to produce a little bit more support type equipment, or do you use just the standard O-scale type of brake equipment and that on it?
No, over the last few years, the community surrounding ON30 has really, really grown. Al Judy has a Facebook page dedicated to ON30, mm-hmm. just as a community page, and just recently he passed over 1,000 members.
Oh, that's great.
It's great.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those things that, you can go there and you can say, hey, I need this, or I need to know about this, or how do you do this? And, within minutes, somebody's replied to you and where you can get stuff. And a lot of, so ON30 obviously is the people, the buildings, the scenery, that stuff is all still O-scale. Mm-hmm. So the cars, the trucks, that's still O-scale. But, Bachmann came out with the ON30 line, and then spurring off that, you have all your manufacturers who are now producing the small little kits, and to support those manufacturers, you have other manufacturers who do detail parts now specifically for ON30. So it's pretty much, you can get a lot of it. A lot of the guys who are into ON30 still like to do a lot of scratch building.
Yeah.
Obviously for years they were the ones promoting that. Particularly ON30, it runs on HO scale track, which makes it very convenient for manufacturers when they're doing the locomotives. It makes it very convenient for guys like me who want to do a little kit bash or scratch building project. I don't need to build my own locomotive.
Yep.
There are a lot of guys, Peter Nesbitt, who you recently did a little segment on, he does ON3. Mm-hmm. So he has, he can't run on the HO track, so he has to re-gauge his wheels and so forth. Yeah. So I didn't want to get into that. This is obviously...
Now when you're talking about HO track, you're obviously talking about the gauge of that track, but nevertheless you'd have different ties in to make it look like an O-scale situation, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Like this is a set of modules I'm working on. This is, here's a perfect example. So you can see, sort of, you can see that the gauge is still HO.
Yeah.
But obviously, an HO scale tie is going to end probably where those two holes are. So this is what they call an ON30 tie.
Right.
So it's a little bit longer. The width is similar, but the length this way is wider.
Okay.
One of the things I've decided to do actually is go to hand laying my track.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't like the way that this, I mean, there was nothing particularly wrong with this track, it's just that I didn't like the way it was coming out. So I'm going to actually be taking this track off its ties and hand laying it.
Right.
Because I want one of the things I want to do with these modules is just make sure that they're going to last, they're of the Craftsman quality,
Yeah.
and I'm not going to have any running problems, so.
And I guess you get a chance to learn from other people in the ON30 community
Oh,
here
yeah.
in Ottawa too. There's a bit of a modular group that's together.
Yeah, recently a group of us got together and we decided to do the Dirty 30.
Yeah.
And that's just a group of guys who want to have fun in ON30. Right now there's 5 of us who have modules either complete or on the way.
Yeah.
We're going to start doing some shows, spreading the good word, having fun, letting some kids run some trains out there in the public. And yeah, we get together. We go down to meets together. We go out for a little, I don't know what you call them. I think they're called union meetings, where we go to have some dinner and
Yeah.
a few beverages. And yeah, it's just all about the community.
So the other thing too, beyond that, I guess there's almost like a national, international organization that gets together every once in a while, but hardly call it an organization.
Yeah, it's funny, it's, I think what started out as a very informal meet by a group of guys who advertised that they were getting together. There's the Mid-Hudson meet coming up in April, but between now and April, between now and the end of the year, I think that there are something like 8 or 9 specific to ON30 meetings that are occurring mostly in the northern United States. So we're talking Pennsylvania, New York State, that sort of geographic area.
Yeah.
And I know that there's a huge narrow gauge, group out west, out in the San Francisco and LA area. They meet quite often. But I get more, of course, the Eastern Canada,
Sure.
Eastern U.S.
I understand there's a whole group of
notifications.
people in the Maritimes too that
Yep.
are involved with the ON30.
There's guys out in the Maritimes. There's a group north of Toronto. They're putting on a show in April as well. Yeah. No, it's something that. What's interesting is that the internet has really opened up people to being able to communicate with other people easier. So you no longer feel like you're the only guy doing something, or that you're one of 12. Right? You're guaranteed to be one of hundreds now. Right? So even if somebody is geographically on the other side of the country, you're able to share knowledge with them. They're able to share knowledge with you. Often what happens is somebody will post a picture of something they've done. Other people come up and ask questions, and you just go from there.
Well, what's also surprised me too, looking at the internet, is it brings people together that otherwise wouldn't meet at all. Like
Absolutely.
they'd be at home, and I've had some people comment to me that, gee, how did you find all these people that have model railroads and
Yeah.
trains and things like that? And a lot of it has to do with obviously the social structures that are there, like the NMRA and the St. Lawrence Division and Ottawa Valley Association of Railroaders. But those were people who basically have come from all this region of the province, and some in Quebec, that have heard about us and just taken that little extra step to come
Yep.
in and say hello to somebody and get introduced.
Well, what's interesting about the NMRA is that, I didn't know what it was. I got introduced to it. I'm like, what are these guys doing? What is going on over here, right? And the more I came out to meets, the more that I was able to learn that what it was about was promoting and sharing the hobby. It didn't really matter what skill you're in, or what you were doing, or what your specialty was.
Yeah.
That didn't matter. What mattered is that you were with a group of model railroaders and you were there to have a good time.
Yeah.
That's what mattered. And from there, that's one of the places where, the SOD, what happens at every meet is that we do a little display table. So you usually have 10 to 15, guys bringing out what they're doing, And so you're able to see some exquisite modeling in all different scales. That's where I saw ON30 and I'm just like, that's cool. I'm getting into that. That looks like fun. And ironically, here's the really funny part. It's not expensive.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, the most expensive thing in this locomotive was this speaker. Right? I mean, like, oh, I mean, seriously. You know, the installation, the decoder, everything is running about $100.
Yeah.
I got the locomotive from England.
Yeah.
Get this 00 off eBay, $50 Canadian shipped to my house. Everything else I scratch built. I got some of the Grant Line detail porter parts to add to some detail on the inside.
Yeah.
Right, you can sort of see that. You see those detail parts in there. So yeah, so it's sort of like, you know, let me just take out this little bit of nonsense and get right in there. It's sort of like you can. It's not expensive. I mean, these kits, I think Dave is selling them for $25.
Yeah.
You know, and you really get that level of detail that you're looking for. Bachmann flooded the market with ON30 stuff. I mean, they've obviously, as the quote-unquote big manufacturer of ON30, they've really taken it to storm. And they are, I think, the only manufacturer of the big group that has embraced ON30. But hey, thanks to them, so many other people now know about this. That they're just getting into the hobby, so it's sort of like it's worked for them because people are still buying their locomotives and buying their rolling stock, and it's not expensive. I mean, I have a Bachmann car. There's nothing wrong with the Bachmann car. I find it a little plastic-like, so obviously I've, you know, started to take it upon myself to get this weathered up and get this going. But I think I got this off eBay. Obviously, you can see I'm starting to remove some detail, right? I got this off eBay, and I think I haven't paid more than $20 for any car. So you compare that to HO.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense to me. This is bigger. There's more, right? There's more stuff going on.
Yeah.
Right? But your level of detail.
It all depends where it's being manufactured, I guess, and how many importing fees have to be paid, and how many are made in terms of quantity and that sort of thing.
Right. I mean, this is a fine car.
What drives the process of the cost of cars up normally is all the processes that are involved in the manufacturing.
Yeah.
And as it gets smaller, sometimes it gets more difficult. But somehow, HO always seems to be the one that gets hit the most. N scale stuff is not so bad, and obviously ON30 isn't as well.
So obviously what I want to do is just make sure, I mean, these are plastic.
Yeah.
I want to take those out. I mean, my rails there are nice. The car itself is nicely detailed. But you can see that if I put this up against, you know, my car, like even this unfinished one, which one looks like wood, right?
Yeah.
Well, obviously the wood one looks like wood.
Yeah.
Well, okay, because it is wood, right? And this is plastic. And but you can see, you know, that you don't want to just. Yeah, I've got both sides going. But you don't want to just leave it. You want to come back to it. You want to weather it. You want to make it your own.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the possibilities are there. It's just, I don't know. If somebody's looking for an inexpensive way or an inexpensive scale, to me, this is it. Because, you know, typically with a narrow gauge train, your car lengths are short. You're probably going to be under 6 cars. 1 or 2 locomotives, you'll be just fine. So you're not really looking at a huge investment of hundreds of cars and dozens of locomotives. You usually only have a single main line, so your track work is minimal. I think that this is just, I think it's a fantastic scale. Your curves are tight. So, I mean, typically you're ranging, I think in our module group, we set a minimum radius at 24.
Yes.
24 in HO is very tight. But we're running very short base cars. Our train lengths are small. 24 is generous. A lot of guys run 18 inches. Yeah. So if you can think of what you can do in 18 inches, you can do a lot. Whereas in HO, you probably want to have a minimum of 30, right? Because you want to run your passenger cars and so forth, right? Yeah, and you know what? This has opened up. You know, this is one of those Craftsman kits from Rusty Stumps that came out really nice. But you know what? Thanks to Rusty Stumps and a beautiful little kit, I mean that really came out nice. I still have to go back and do all the detail parts and stuff. But again,
so big.
it's huge. I mean, it's a little depot, right? But it's you know, I don't have any of my O scale figures out, but it's proportional. It looks right.
Yeah.
But you know, thanks to kits like this, it's given me, you know, the confidence of going out, you know, and I'm going to be, you know, doing my own work, right? I mean, because basically I took this and I said, okay, what am I doing here? I got some laser kit walls, I got some doors, I got some windows. This kit went together beautifully, you know, pre-made shingles and stuff. But then I'm like, okay, what do I want next? Well, one of the things I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be doing a cannery on my pier. So, you know, okay, what do I need? I need some walls, I need some windows. So, you know, as we both know, we have, you know...
It's a wonderful book, by the way. I haven't seen those before.
No?
No.
Oh, I highly recommend these books.
Yeah.
I think that Trainmasters TV are going to be coming out with these books as part of their ebook line.
Oh, okay.
But you can talk directly to Ron.
Yep.
And get them from him. I highly recommend that. He did some great stuff here. This comes out in the NMRA scale rail sometimes, as he puts them in there as a couple pages, but these are great. I mean, you can, following his instructions, he even lists out, like, everything there is listed. So he told you exactly what he did. He tells you exactly what windows, what company, Grant Line entrance door with windows painted. Boom. So that's what he used. Right. So you can look at this.
This is
Ron Morse.
Ron Morse. Okay.
Yep. Some great stuff there. You know, but you don't necessarily have to do it exactly as he did it, but you get the idea.
So there's resources out there. That's the main thing. And
Absolutely.
You can basically build a realistic little scene based on what's there.
Yeah. Well, and you know who else? Obviously, you know, our friend Charles Kirk. What can I say? I mean, I looked at his stuff and it's like, really?
Yeah.
And then I actually, you know, he's so approachable that, and the community is so approachable. I actually spoke to him, and I'm like, okay, really, Trolls, how did you do this? You know, he's like, hey, I got this DVD. Look at the DVD. Ask me any questions you want. I'm like, okay.
Where do you start?
Where do I start, right? What do I do? But you know what? I watched what he did, and it's like, it seems like a lot. But again, slow down. You take your time, and you practice. And sometimes it's not always going to be perfect, but you know.
It's a start to learn how the process works, right?
Right. You know, so it's like, you know what? I did this completely wrong, but it's my first one.
Yeah.
So who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, well, I'll put it in the background somewhere, and no one's going to care. Obviously, you know, I used the wrong type of paint, the wrong type of marker. I used the wrong type of paper. I didn't cut it evenly. It looks horrible, but you know what? I learned, and now my next one isn't going to be this.
Yeah.
Right? And that's what's important, is that...
I always wonder how Trolls got it right the first time, or is he telling us that he took him a lot more?
You know what? It doesn't matter. What matters is that this wasn't my, you know, 48 by, you know, 28-inch canning, you know, operation. I took a little cabin and I said, okay, what can I do here? What am I doing? And what is my learning curve? So now the next time I do this, I already know what not to do. Right? I know what all my mistakes were, and I can go back and I can fix that.
Yes.
And that's what's invaluable with the group, is that even if I were doing this now, I could stop, I could post this online, and I would have guys saying, hey, did you think of this? Did you think of that? Here's some ideas that you could do to make this better, right?
Yep.
And that's what it is. It's the community of model railroaders out there in any scale that really help make this hobby what it is.